You'll have noticed a long-term trend of raising the retirement age in most countries around the world, whether rich or whether poor. The retirement age is going up. And in fact, only in the last few months, the retirement age got raised again in Australia, even though we are quite well off. This does, of course, beg the question, are we going to have to work until we die? In some sense, this is true. You are going to have to work a very long time. Only a minuscule portion of the population can retire, let's say 30, and then live out the next 50 years of their life in retirement. But for like 99.999% of people, that's not the case. It's impossible. And even retiring at the age of, let's say 70, which is quite a high number, even retiring at that age could be a fantasy for some. We all know people that work past the age of 70. So why is this the case? Well, economically speaking, every bit of work that we do, every product that we produce or service that we help produce adds to society. It's something that didn't exist beforehand. Right now, we can only enjoy the standard of living that we do because people in the past have put in work that got us to here. And right now, we're doing work that people in the future will enjoy. But it's not just the case that we're working for people in the future. What's happening is that we're producing a surplus now. We're working really hard to produce a surplus that people in the future will draw upon. However, we are also producing a surplus for ourselves that we can then save in the form of money, and we can spend that money in the future. But the only way we can spend that money, the only way that money has value into the future, is because people in the future are going to be doing work and we're going to be buying something off them. Even something as simple as buying milk 1 week into the future, that milk that you're purchasing 1 week into the future doesn't exist right now. Someone will ultimately have to do some work to then give you that milk that you will then purchase in the future. And the thing is, this is what happened in the past. People in the past worked. The only reason people in the past that have worked can either retire or simply spend their money is because we're providing something for them to purchase right now. We are working right now for things that those people in the past have worked for. And so ultimately it's a continuous cycle. We have people in the past that have done work, and we are producing work that people in the future will also enjoy. There's no realistic way around this because we're all born into this society. We are already in this level of wealth, but more specifically, why do we have to work harder? Well, the thing is, we're enjoying a better lifestyle specifically because we have put in more work, more R&D, more goods and services, or better goods and services are being produced right now. And they're better than in the past. And in the future, better goods and services will be produced. And more specifically, there's no way around this. Because of the way the past worked, we expect that that is how the future will work. We don't expect phones or whatever devices we're using 10 or 20 years into the future to be the same as they are now. We expect them to be better. But for them to be better, well, people have to put in more work. In many instances, they're going to have to work longer and longer into their life. In some cases, they might not retire at all. And so it is that the work that we're putting in now produces better phones than we had 10 or 20 years in the past. And in a lot of instances, you simply have to come to terms with this. And in some instances, you have to learn to love your work. A lot of people will find meaning in their work, even if that means working up until they die, as morbid as that sounds. But we've all heard of that person that worked until, let's say, they were 70 years old, and then they retire, and then not long after they pass away. They lost that drive, that passion, that will that they had for work that vanished once they stopped working. And so it is that collectively, this keeps us on the hedonic treadmill, where we have to keep working harder and harder to stay on that wheel that keeps on turning. And ultimately, the only way for the wheel to stop is for society to collapse. And no one wants that. And so then we have to keep working harder and harder. If we suddenly decided that we want to cap off growth at some point in the future and for everything to remain the same as it is now, and we work fewer and fewer hours, well, the thing is, what about people in the past? Where is their reward? That reward can only come from more and more work and more stuff ultimately being produced. And so ultimately, because people in the past worked really, really hard to deliver what we have today, we have to continue that really hard work to then pay them off. To not do that, to suddenly cap off growth, would then be a disservice to the people in the past. And the thing is, we can't go back into the past and give them all that time back, all that effort back, It's already been done. And so into the future, we're going to have to keep working harder and harder. And so this is quite nihilistic in today's day and age, especially with the rise of machines, rise of robotics, and of course of AI. A lot of us might have to work until we die, but ultimately it just is what it is. And it is the price we pay for enjoying what we do today. If you wanted to completely disconnect from everything, you'd have to return to a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, or simply accept a lower standard of living. So you could of course work a lower paid job that doesn't require quite as much work. But how many of us enjoy that? And secondly, are you going to be able to enjoy any sort of retirement or semi-retirement well into the future? But that's the thing, that's a choice you're going to have to make. You could be skating on very thin ice. You could be walking a very thin tightrope trying to do that. So even though this is potentially quite dark, I hope it's helped lay out the reality of the situation and ultimately help you understand why some of us may have to work until we die. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, rate and share all the good stuff. Definitely helps this channel, and I'll see you guys next time.